At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
When choosing a dentist for our family, Tupelo Smiles was the answer for us. They greet us with warm smiles right when we walk in the door, and they make us feel so welcome. We love Tupelo Smiles.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Cold but no moisture, a combination that makes snow unlikely. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Room to Room Weather Center on Mississippi Live Weather at 6. And while unlikely, not an impossibility around the state, we're using Snow Finder here in a couple minutes to look at the most likely locations for that. A couple camera shots to begin here at our 6 p.m. broadcast. Batesville looking out with that kind of glow there toward the horizon. 32 degrees at the freezing point there. Tonight would be cold enough, and in the extended forecast cold enough for some wintry precipitation, but as you can see, those skies are clear now, though we do have a little moisture overnight that we'll be tracking in a minute. Mabin coming in there at kind of the intersection between Webster, Choctaw, Oktibbeha, and Clay counties, but nothing to intersect in the sky. Clear and 36. Feels like temperature with winds calmer there than some other locations coming into the same temp as the temperature. And up in South Tillow, again, still a little glow there at the horizon. Our various Mississippi Department of Transportation cameras, 37 degrees as of this hour. So looking at the first 12 here, we're at 7 p.m. down to 34, 28 by 10 p.m., 26 by 1 o'clock in the morning. And again, I think somewhere overnight we probably hit the mid-20s for a lot of spots, which with the wind less calm or more calm, less breezy, less wind than what we had last night and this morning. The wind chill factor is certainly going to be cold enough, but luckily not quite as far down into the teens as we started today. Unfortunately, we have more teens ahead. Mama Justice Doppler radar, nothing on its latest scans here close around town and the region. High pressure, the center of that cold air just to the south of us. And again, there's a lot of things that kind of work against some rain and snow chances going forward, and I think dry air is one of those. Now, to the north, we do have, again, our next storm system, and it is diving toward us. This is going to be even more really chilly air on the way as we go into this upcoming weekend. But you'll notice here, kind of looking at the amount of dry air, that is the thing that we have to overcome for any kind of moisture. And this is just brown, brown, and more brown. As we mentioned at 5 o'clock, drought monitor, up today. There's a lot of brown on that, but maybe not quite as much brown as we have on this graphic. That measure of moisture behind this down into not just the teens, let's bring it to now, but in some cases, single digits. So any moisture that falls has to not just be challenged by, slightly warmer air closer to the surface, but also this dry air that's going to try to eat it up. Eesh, that can be tricky, and largely the dry air tends to win in that situation. But we do have just a little moisture kind of shifting through up to the north, and yeah, there's some snowfall with that up towards St. Louis, and some of our projections do have just the littlest bit of moisture kind of getting down here. And there was a color change on that. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But the big story is the cold air behind this, and eventually, can the cold air with this system take the moisture coming out of the Gulf and bring us something other than rainfall? I'll tell you this, I'm not overly jazzed by what we're looking at, but certainly the possibility is not completely zero yet. So over the next 24 hours, no issues there. We are 29 at 6 a.m., 38 by 9 a.m., going to 52 by noon and 55 by tomorrow afternoon. Chances for moisture pretty limited out there. A few light showers possible as this front kicks in. And then temperatures try to drop, but the coldest air, I think, somewhat removed behind it. And that is the way in which that wintry stuff tries to wedge its way into the forecast. But I don't necessarily think it will. Join the conversation here in our chat ongoing on Facebook, on YouTube there. Appreciate y'all in Choctaw County, all locations for watching us here. It looks like the YouTube comments are really a little more active than others this evening. You can tell us your concerns, your hopes and dreams as far as snowfall is concerned. Of course, that's coming up here in 60 seconds. Our Snow Finder, something you'll see only here on Mississippi Live. We've just worked to update it. You'll have that look at those chances as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center in 60 seconds.
Frozen pipes can cause serious damage. That's why Absolute Restoration is giving away free faucet covers to our community while supplies last. Installing them is easy. Just slide the foam sleeve over your outdoor faucet and secure it snugly. Also remember to disconnect hoses, open cabinet doors under sinks, and let faucets drip during extreme cold. Call or text to check availability, and from our family to yours, please stay warm and protected.
It's Friday night y estamos activos. Head out early. Drinks flowing to 11.
No sé qué pasó. I didn't even drink that much.
Can I ask a few questions?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, we have a dog, but she's little.
Do you have any unlocked guns around the house?
We do have a gun, but it's stored securely, locked in a safe that the kids can't access. Appreciate you asking.
Yeah, of course.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Well, just the leftover glow showing up in West Point this evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. As we look out there again, no clouds in the sky, that air dry with dew points in the teens. But there's enough cold air tonight that when we have some moisture, it's not impossible to see a couple flakes. Now, when I say a couple, I don't want to overdo the expectations, but it's not an impossibility that we see a couple of those later on tonight. And one of the locations where we might is up here in Alcorn County. And we're here in southern Alcorn County here with the camera shot looking toward a couple of thin clouds there. I do appreciate the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. You can see the lower right-hand corner of the screen there, a partner of us here on Mississippi Live Weather to bring you this camera network here across the region. So weekend forecast. As we look into the weekend forecast, it is going to be cold, but I think Saturday when we have our best chances for moisture, not cold enough. Mid-40s, too warm. We need to be 32 or lower to really get something to stick and have some meaningful wintry precipitation. Instead, when the moisture moves in, and it's largely still south of us, it's going to be above freezing. And it's going to be more than 10 degrees above freezing. That eats up into anything. Then the cold, and this is a high temperature for Sunday, only in the 30s. So really, really cold air on the way for next week. Looking at rain chances next couple of days. Again, slightly better tomorrow than on Saturday, and then dry through much of next week before they start to come back a little bit more by late in the week. Likely, despite the lightning you see on this graphic in the background there, to just be showers, no thunderstorms. So let's look at the thing you'll see only on Mississippi Live. This is Snow Finder. And what this does, this uses probabilistic forecast data. What does that mean? You have to pay very close attention to these numbers here. Now, this is not amount of precipitation. That's what you see over here on amount of snowfall potential, right? This is the likelihood of seeing it. So when we start looking at this, we're looking to see these numbers kind of on the higher end. If you're on the higher end of this, your odds of seeing something are a lot greater. So let's look at our odds play out on this. As you can see, our odds not good throughout the overnight hours into tomorrow. When you see like this one level of green on there, that's actually less than a 10% chance of them seeing something at those locations at that point in time. So that's kind of your perspective there. We see those brighter colors. It's a much, much higher chance. So let's talk about our area. Notice the first time we start to see a very, very limited chance of a little bit of precipitation, we're looking about 8 a.m. Saturday here. But where you see the green, what does this come down to? You look at the top here, that would be less than 10% chance of seeing something. Maybe only 2 or 3% chance. Not good, right? Those chances remain, as you can see, 11 a.m., heading toward midday, heading toward afternoon. Again, not particularly impressive, right? As what moisture we had, still there, but temperatures near the surface too warm, and so it eats up whatever precipitation falls into it. So the unfortunate thing is Snow Finder, where we were only dealing with chances yesterday that were down here in, say, that 10, maybe as high as 20% range for locations down southeast. The likelihood of us seeing it unfortunately, looks a lot less. And so for the coast, I know it's always crazy. It's like, wait, they could see it down there. The chances are better, as you can see. And the possibility, you know, in the most likely scenario is not very good. There's possibility, though, still of maybe some of that white stuff down there. But when you look at our graphic at the top, that's why I'm going to keep pointing up here. That area, you know, we're looking what? In the yellows. My monitor here in the studio a little slow when I put up the chat there. But the big takeaway is this. While there is a chance, that chance doesn't look as good for them as it did yesterday, and the likelihood of accumulation doesn't look as good as well. Now, you get back there into Alabama and into Georgia and locations to the east, chances a little better. But the cold air, not perfectly in phase with this. And yeah, in a lot of spots, chance for very, very limited amounts of accumulation, but not necessarily on a necessarily widespread scale. So, Christina Wells, Matt, am I getting snow in Walnut? I just popped up. I'm gonna need you to give me some hope tonight. So here's the funny thing. You have better hope tonight than you have out of Saturday. Let's talk about that. Day planner here. Again, we're looking at 30% on that rain coverage for 7 a.m. tomorrow, 52 by noon, 55 as we look toward 3 p.m. Underwater again, some cloudy skies, but we're going to, I think, mostly stay dry until the latter part of the day. So here is a look at Futurecast, and I'm going to go ahead and bring down this chat for a second. And Gabe, I think you might have clicked over there off of that, so let's see if we can bring that in. Well, remind me, we're going to check that between shows. For whatever reason, that button is not happy. But I want to see if maybe Christina there is happy. So we show, again, mainly dry, 8:30, 9, 10 o'clock as we progress into this evening for tonight. But 9:30, 10, not seeing much in the way of moisture there. I gotta get my monitor here at home correct. I'm not doing this for intentional pregnant pauses, but as you can see, a little bit of moisture showing up, and temperatures at the surface will be below freezing for this evening as this comes in. So midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, little wave, and this is about all the hope I can give you up there in Walnut, New Albany. This says mix. For how long? About that long. What is that? That's snow aloft that's either hitting air that's too dry near the surface, or honestly, it's too dry near the surface. So could you see a couple of flakes overnight? Yes. Are we talking about snowfall that's meaningful? Nope. And are you going to school tomorrow? Yes. But it will be cold. Low temperatures into the mid-20s. Again, not quite as cold as this morning. Still below our normal 33 for this time of year. Wind chill temperatures, much more manageable than today, but by no means warm as they're down in the 20s and close to the teens out here for Hamilton, Alabama, or Vernon, but most locations, again, 20s for those wind chill temperatures early Friday morning, and we'll go a lot colder than that in extended forecast. So here's how this all plays out on our Futurecast. As you can see here, we have mostly clear conditions until around midday, and then our chances for rainfall increase as our front moves into the area. But notice it is still fighting the same dry air that we have out there today. So we have a couple of sprinkles out there, Boonville, Corinth, back towards Savannah, Tennessee, and they become a little bit heavier here by around 4 to 5 o'clock. But these stay solidly liquid because we're above the freezing point. I mean, look at these temperatures, not just above the freezing point, but more than 20 degrees above the freezing point. So kind of a cool rain, but it's just rain. 56 Cleveland, 59 degrees Grenada, as well as Eupora and Starkville for highs. Normal this time of year is 53 degrees. Our Mississippi High School Game of the Week presented by KC Lot, North Pontotoc, Tishmingo. For whatever reason, my brain said we were going to be in Tishmingo tomorrow. We're not. We're going to be in North Pontotoc. I just know I saw on social media that the Tishmingo kids planning on dressing up with suspenders, which is very humbling. Or maybe they're dressing up because Gabe Maynor wears suspenders too. Interesting thought. Hadn't thought about that. Limited chances for a few showers. Again, rainfall, mild largely. We will be there, and we're excited to say hi to all the folks there at North Pontotoc. As this front moves through, the rainfall moves on out of here, and even drier air moves in. And that's the thing that all these projections are going to have to overcome if we're going to see something other than rain. And even then, there's enough dry air. We might not see a whole lot of that. So Saturday morning, behind the front, again, it is cool once again, or cold, or maybe really cold once again, but still, I'm in the low 30s, and that is up a little bit from where we will be tomorrow morning and closer to that freezing point, despite being behind that front. And again, mid-20s out there for wind chill temperatures, still manageable. That's why I kind of went past that. The really colder air is beyond that. And then, yeah, I guess I got to get to this side here to show you the way this system plays out. And this, as we talked about a lot last night, is not the way we see snowfall. For us to get snowfall, there's a very clear pattern in the way this works. We need to get a low pressure center down here, right? And that low pressure center is going to track somewhere like this. So I'm going to leave that on there because, and I'll put a big purple X over it, this is not what we have. So I'm going to watch how this progresses. We would look for something down here to get going and track up toward us. As you'll look, that's not the way this works. Though we have some moisture coming in, we also have another system coming out of the north and west, and you'll notice that this all codes in as green here around the northern part of Mississippi. So bring it in the whole Mississippi scan for a moment. And again, this is mainly light to, in some cases, at most moderate rainfall. Now, this is all snow aloft, but it all melts as it gets closer to the surface. And yeah, we get close up to the northeast. So the question, could you see a flake on Saturday? Yes. Are you building a snowman on Saturday? I never put it past North Mississippians to be able to find a way to do that. But I would say, I feel wholeheartedly the answer is probably no. We'll talk to Gabe about that. A little more details. We dig in to some of the details on the way these projections are coming in. But mid-40s out there, again, more than 10 degrees above the freezing point, we're not going to manage to get any snowfall with this. So Futurecast, again, showing those conditions there into early Sunday morning there and progressing through Sunday. This is maybe the bigger weather story. Low 20s for lows early Sunday morning. And we're going to probably only be, 26 by the time a lot of folks get into and going to church. 32 as we head toward noontime for temperatures. Barely above the freezing point for highs on Sunday. And you can clearly see those arrows coming across. While we have no precipitation, this is a Futurecast that typically would focus on that. It's definitely going to be really, really cold. So low temperatures there. Down into probably the low 20s early Sunday morning. You need to make sure you're wrapping up those outdoor spigots. I've held this thing up a million times in the last few days. We're going to keep talking about it because you want to make sure you have those spigots covered. And the folks at Absolute Cleaning and Restoration providing these. You can find out more information on their Facebook page, Absolute Restoration. We've talked a lot about those the last couple of days. Let's talk about wind chills here for a moment. So we are expected to feel like it's in the teens for the first part of Sunday morning there. But if I extend this through the day, give me a moment to do that. Go to Sunday PM. Watch how this progresses. And it's not pretty. You can see by 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, even through noontime there. I mean, best case scenario, talking like it's going to be in the around 30 degree point for the wind chill. But it's still really chilly, even through midday. And it's one of those weird days where it's chilly but completely clear. So I know folks, and my wife in particular has some strong opinions about those days. And then we start dropping off pretty quickly again into the evening by your Sunday evening. So we check out that 7-day forecast here, and then we're going to dig into all your questions coming up after this commercial break. But 20% on that rain chance on your Friday, 55 degrees, again, that high temperature. And it's not impossible to see a rogue flake or two overnight tonight, but it's not going to add up to anything. 31 Saturday morning, 45 Saturday afternoon, 36 for Sunday afternoon, and then keeping it, we should be 53, so way, way below that. We don't have a day in the extended forecast that we hit that. I mean, maybe late next week, and even then we're still a little bit below that. But lows 21, 22, 18, that is cold enough to possibly cause some issues for pipes that aren't fully secured. So make sure that you take care of those. Okay. Join the conversation here. I'll pop up the chat for just a moment. I'm interested to see what y'all have to say and answer your questions. But coming up in 60 seconds, our meteorologist Gabe Maynor will be looking at the various models here. We're going to be talking about Again, snowfall, maybe looking beyond the really long term at some of those as Mississippi Live weather continues from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. Made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
By the time you see the symptoms of lung cancer, it could be too late. Now there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early. If you smoked, get scanned.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride, but there's also a significant amount of pressure.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
Watching the sun come up, that's my time. I can have a cup of coffee, and every day is a new opportunity.
That's cool.
Your hand's gotten so Yay!
Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
The last glow of the sunset out in Pontotoc. You're watching Mississippi Live weather here. And I want to bring our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, in. And Gabe has, obviously, I gave you the credit coming back at 5 p.m. there. Great job on this snow forecast. We never even had a percentage for any precipitation on the 7-day. But the thing that we have not at all even implied differently on is it will be very, very cold coming up, right?
Big time. Already feeling that in North Mississippi today. If you woke up this morning, you had a frosty start, probably a layer of frost on the car, had to thaw that out, and maybe if you were a good husband, I don't wake up early enough, but a good husband warmed up your wife's car early enough, then I know she was definitely appreciating that. But the big thing whenever it comes to those cold temperatures is, of course, taking care of family, but we also have to take care of our pets, our plants, and yes, our pipes. And as you take a look behind me right there, and I stepped away without grabbing the remote, so let me grab that here real quick. We're talking about frigid conditions in place, around 20 degrees, and this morning, we were not far from it. Tomorrow morning won't be far from it yet again, but into next week, we're talking sub-freezing conditions, and not just sub-freezing, sub-20 degrees in North Mississippi. So whenever we get temperatures around that margin, our pipes become a major concern. As we take a look at that household hazard, pipes encompassing a large portion of the house, especially on the outside walls as well. So that's why a big emphasis on pipes is because whenever it's on those outside walls, where are we most exposed to the cold? On those outside walls. So that's why we have those susceptible pipes. And whenever water expands, and this is a little bit of a science lesson, or whenever water freezes, it expands. And so that's when it becomes more of a concern, because we're not just talking about sub-freezing temperatures, we're talking around 20 degrees, and that will cool things off quickly and freeze things quickly. So that, of course, causes those to expand, and then it fans outside the pipe, and that's where we could result in some busted pipes. So there are preventative ways to prevent this from happening. And one of the best ways to do that is, of course, by insulating those pipes. So we consider the outside temperature, that direct exposure, and the effectiveness of that insulation to prevent this exact matter right here. So how do we prevent it? Well, it all starts with that insulation. How are we going to combat it? Well, of course, it starts with sleeves on the pipes. Now, this is more for those exposed pipes. If you have a newly built home, probably don't have those exposed pipes, but some of those older made homes, they do have some of those pipes, especially down in the basement. And you can go down there, put a sleeve on there, and it just looks like this black sleeve that goes right over the top of the pipe. And that pipe sleeve is installed and kind of keeps those pipes warm and prevents it from freezing, and then prevents it from bursting as well. So it adds that extra layer of insulation to prevent this from happening, but that's just one of the ways that we can do it. Another one is keeping the heat on. Do we really need to say that around this time of year? I think everyone in the chat, and let me know if you're an anomaly in this situation, has the heat on already and probably has had it on all week long. So as we take a look at that, keep the heat on, and that temperature at a minimum of 55 degrees. Usually at the Maynor house, we're in the mid-60s around this time of year, so we like to keep it a little bit warmer than that, but if you can survive at 55 degrees, that's really the margin we're looking for to keep these pipes from bursting, and again, another preventative measure that we can add. And as we take a look at those pipes in a little bit more detail, we also drip those faucets. And so as you can see, the faucets there in the kitchen as well as the bathroom, you can go ahead and drip those as well. We kind of do so whenever I get home from work. That's really my job, is at 10 or 11 o'clock to go ahead and get that steady drip going, and of course prevents those pipes from bursting because it's not still water. We keep that moving water, that running water. And if you've ever seen a creek Compare that to a lake. How quickly does that creek freeze compared to the lake? It's usually a little bit later because running water is harder to freeze because you still have that motion, not exactly a still layer of water to freeze. So again, that motion, it helps. That's why we keep that drip going, and of course prevent that burst from happening. As we take a look at those outside covers, this is where our friends at Absolute are a big partnership here around this time of year because they have those covers that we can put on those spigots outside to prevent it from freezing over and allowing those freezing conditions to get in there. So those coverings, this is what it looks like on our graphic right here. But Matt, I know that you have a cover from Absolute that you can show off here in just a moment, but that's just another preventative way that we can do that prevents it from resulting in bursted pipes. Bursted pipes can cost thousands of dollars.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, burst pipes can cost thousands of dollars, and it can be helped by just a simple cover like what Matt has that does not cost too much, and it's a preventative measure that can save you thousands of dollars in the process. So Matt, go ahead and show it off. Let the folks know where to get it and what exactly it'll do.
Okay, again, we talked a lot about it, but Absolute Cleaning and Restoration. I mean, it's basically, let's be honest about this. You can make one of these. It's just foam that's in kind of a bag that you put a rubber band around to put it over top of the spigot. You know, you could do that with a towel. Just something to go around there and try to insulate it so that expansion doesn't cause lots and lots of problems. So we're just trying to think ahead, trying to be proactive. Of course, that's why we're talking about that there. Okay, Gabe, now the time has come here to talk about something else. We need to talk about high school basketball. Do you have that ready there to go?
Let me go ahead and scroll down. I want to make sure we're not having an ad on there like last time. Okay, let me scroll it over and we can kind of get a better look at that. But of course, this is our vote that's happening right now, and I'm going to try my best not to block it, but we have a new feature for basketball season, and I'm so excited about it. We got to feature it last time. Let me pull it up behind me one more time. But we got to feature it last week, and that is our student section, or honestly, just fan section of the week. Last week, I believe Corinth took the win in that one, and their fans showed up and showed out. I know students weren't exactly in school at the time, so people still traveling, so that's where we made it our fan section of the week. But what I'm learning is that there's some pretty passionate student sections across North Mississippi, including for the Vikings of North Pontotoc and the Blue Crew there in Tishomingo County. So your votes matter. And as of right now, those votes, as we take that head-to-head matchup, we're seeing 171 for North Pontotoc. And as we take a look at Tishomingo County, already taking that early lead. So Blue Crew showing up, showing out, and as of right now, winning this battle for sure, and probably getting a feature if things continue to hold where they are right now. But Matt, I love this addition to basketball season.
You said for sure. That's a little early for sure on who's going to end up winning.
You're right.
Certainly they're ahead at this moment.
And there's time. There at 6 p.m. on your Friday. The end of the 6 p.m. broadcast is when we announce those winners. So
24 hours still.
Yeah, big time. There's a lot of time to make a change. We've been talking about the snow forecast changing. The student section vote can change. So there you go. You're pretty much the snow forecast, folks. And of course, if we keep scrolling down,
that's the thing. You've got to share. You've got to share so that you can get that out and get the opportunity for people to vote there.
And of course, we do have the cheer squads as well, and that's going to consist of both schools, North Pontotoc and Tishomingo County. And looking at that head-to-head vote, 78 votes for the Vikings and 455. Ooh, early lead for Tishomingo County. Still time to make a change. But as of right now, Tishomingo County coming out hot in this vote, and well, I'll be interested to see how we go into that 6 o'clock broadcast tomorrow. But of course, we'll be having the latest results. That all is required by you at home, sharing, liking, commenting, and of course, liking those respective votes or liking those respective teams of who you want to come out on top and get that feature here on Mississippi Live Weather. Big thank you to the folks at Langston Allott for partnering with us on this journey. Did so all through football season, carrying that through the spring season with basketball, and could not be more excited about hitting the hardwood and getting some great highlights and of course, great features there with Spirit Squad and our Cheer Squad.
And if you can't tell, Gabe is always super jazzed about basketball. That is his sport. I mean, you know, not in the sense of the actual athletes on the court, you know, and I think this is just a cool one because this is going to be the girls. I don't know if we've really talked enough about that. You know, people have done football for years. I can't think of a time anybody's ever done game of the week for a female sport, and that's something we want to make sure. We're going to rotate back and forth the boys and the girls. So this is a girls matchup, and we are so excited to be there. We'd love to see you. Come on out. We'll take pictures, do the whole thing. And again, you still have time to vote. Gabe, I'm going to take myself off stream for a second because there was a question about the water, and in particular, which kind of faucet do we need to let drip, hot or cold? And honestly, probably both.
Yeah, I would say whenever it comes to that faucet drip, and I can go ahead and put it back on our graphic right here. Let me actually advance it to the next one. We want to make sure to let that water drip. And of course, on the middle of your screen, you see that let cold water drip from those faucets. Now, this, of course, just allows for that freezing to not occur, because the freezing then leads to those burst pipes, and it saves us a ton of money, like we mentioned. But that's going to be a cold water drip, so depending on which direction that is, for me, it's on the right side. So that's usually the direction I go, and so far it's been keeping our house intact, and I know for a lot of folks out there, keeping that the drip going has been helping them as well. So yeah, it's, I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat. Yes, so which one to leave it on? And that is that Aura Wear, I believe. Yeah, go ahead and put that on the cold setting as we get into those overnight hours. Now tonight, I would say is still worthy of a drip. 26 degrees in that low temperature forecast.
I don't know. I feel like that's a little mild. I think we're probably
it's
okay
close
tonight.
enough. If you live along the Tennessee state line, I would err on the side of caution. But for sure into next week, we're going to be talking about everyone in North Mississippi having that drip going, because that is some extreme cold moving into the forecast.
And ultimately, you got to make sure those doors are open for those faucets, for the cabinets if they're on the outside wall. That's it. I know that I live a blessed life, but when we built our house, I specifically made sure we didn't have any spigots on. We have spigots on the outside wall because you have to have those on the outside, but no faucets on the inside. I was like, nope, we don't want that plan. Nope, we don't want that plan. As nerdy as that is, I was like, I made sure we were not going to build a house where we had on the outside, and we'd have a storm shelter. But anyway,
that is smart.
Hey, Gabe, appreciate you so much. Well, I mean, it's just the nerdy way in which I think. Anything else you want to add real quick here before we wrap things up?
If you're a Tishomingo County fan and in the student section, wear suspenders is what I'm being told by faculty over there at Tishomingo County. So you can be like the Mississippi Live weather crew, and we'll rep it with pride come Friday night.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be honest, I'll probably be in like a polo shirt or something. Probably
just bring some suspenders on standby for the picture, and then you can snap a pic and then not need them for the rest of the night.
My wife has a pair of like flowered suspenders, and I think they're the only clip-on suspenders I have. So I might see if I can bring those. There you go. The people will be like, wait, what? What's Matt trying to tell us something new? I'm just trying to tell you, clip-on suspenders, these are all full button suspenders. I'm not a seamstress, but is it tailor? I'm not a tailor either, but I know how to put buttons on suspenders.
Hey, you've helped me out with the button side of things, but I still have, now I feel ashamed. These are clip-ons. I don't want to show it.
No.
Feel called out.
It's fine. Apparently the different echelons when it comes to the suspenders. Hey, by the way, if I see some folks there saying, hey, miss you on the old place, that is flattering. We appreciate that. But you found us on the new place, and you can find us any day, anytime here on the Mississippi Live Weather app. We do live broadcasts every day. They come up at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. in the evenings, and then, of course, 6:37, 7:30 a.m. Yeah, and speaking, of the mornings there, before we go, our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, does an amazing job. Check her out starting tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. She will have updates related to, obviously, the cold weather, any shifts related to the probably not snowfall. If you haven't had a chance to tune in with Maggie, she's just a wonderful person, does an amazing job, and we're so proud to have her as part of the team here on Mississippi Live Weather, just like we're proud to have Gabe and Caleb and all the behind-the-scenes folks that make us in front of the camera look smarter than we are. Our next live broadcast, as I mentioned there, coming up at 10 p.m., our meteorologist Gabe Maynor coming up at 10 p.m. will have the latest related to some of those snow chances and where they're most likely, which is probably not here. Updates, of course, here in the Room to Room Weather Center. Thank you so much for watching. Danny in Houston and all the folks there. Brenda, Barbara, Anita there. Arnita that are watching us and commenting on Facebook and YouTube and all those. We'll see you come up at 10 p.m.
Hate is loud, but love is the majority.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.